Chapter 477 The Feast in the Burning Valley. Dunhuang City. To the north of the city was the Dunhuang City's military headquarters. As a strange heat wave surged across the place, the higher-ups in the headquarters immediately held an emergency meeting. The authorities immediately gathered at the round table. A tanned man with a huge army cap stood in the middle, holding some fresh information he had just received. According to my men's report, a huge fire calamity has just occurred in the North Burning Valley, eliminating countless creatures residing in the valley, said the tanned commander. Upon hearing this, the rest of the commanders in the meeting were filled with joy. How could they possibly not know about the North Burning Valley, after spending such a long time at Dunhuang? Although the biggest threat to Dunhuang City was the Dunhuang Demon Tigers, even the hunters who were not stationed here for a long time knew that the North Burning Valley separated by the drifting sand river was a mysterious barren land, with countless unimaginable resources and treasures. Due to the difficulty of crossing the drifting sand river, the North Burning Valley was unspoiled, with many resources waiting to be retrieved. In addition to that, it was said that the North Burning Valley had a unique event, occurring after a fire calamity took place. The baptism of fire would trigger the growth of resources, like sprouting bamboo shoots after a rain. Not only would it increase the value of any existing resources, it would also produce new valuable materials. The fire calamity was a symbol of death, considered the most terrifying wrath of nature, yet to those who had survived the calamity, what awaited them in the North Burning Valley was a grand feast for them to enjoy thoroughly. Why are we wasting our time here? I'll move out at once with my men. An impatient commander slammed his hand on the table and rose to his feet like a spring. No one knew more about how profitable the North Burning Valley was than them. What men? Who's going to defend the city? Allow me to explore the place. After all, I'm more familiar with the place than you old men who have stayed indoors for a very long time, said a male commander in his 30s, who seemed to have a wild temperament. Enough, I'll decide who we're sending, there's no point of fighting over it. Besides, it's obvious that the Magic Association will be sending someone over too, not to mention the old elite hunters from the Hunter Union. Perhaps they have already packed their bags and are now figuring out how they will cross the drifting sand river while we're still discussing who to send here, said the tanned commander. Everyone calmed down when the drifting sand river was mentioned. The drifting sand river was a strange place. When the presence of the invaders was higher, it was easier to wake up more and stronger white sand demons, and having more people would not necessarily solve the issue. Throughout history, no one had dared to fight the drifting sand river with numbers. Therefore, those who were sent to the North Burning Valley had to be fairly outstanding, their strength only the secondary factor. Most importantly, they had to be able to protect themselves in the North Burning Valley. The ones who arrived at the North Burning Valley earlier would find more resources. Time was gold. The Dunhuang City's headquarters was different from the other headquarters. They did not have any Heavenly Eagles battle mages, as the Heavenly Eagles were unfit to survive in this environment. They would have to shed all their feathers in the heat. The absence of Heavenly Eagles also meant that there were no Beastmasters, which further meant that there were no magicians with the psychic element. They would have to spend a fortune to hire a psychic magician now. The experienced hunters in the Hunter Union were able to get the latest information fairly quickly. Every psychic magician in the entire Dunhuang City was most likely reserved by now. The military could not afford to wait any further. If they were left with no choice, they could only drive their way across the drifting sand river with brute force. Either way, they could not let the other factions get a head start, as all the good stuff would be taken away. I heard that this fire calamity only appears once every few years in the North Burning Valley, and the scale of those in the past wasn't as big as this one. Now that we've managed to escape from the fire calamity, it should be very safe for us to head into the North Burning Valley. Most importantly, the fire calamity is like a baptism for the North Burning Valley, which either kills or drives away the creatures without pure fire lineages. As a result, the North Burning Valley would be filled with lots of valuable resources after the baptism, said Chen Yi. It seemed like Chen Yi was hoping that the party would not give up here. Mo Fan and Ling Ling quickly fixed their eyes on Chen Yi with a suspicious look. Mo Fan had only learned about the North Burning Valley from the secret tipping scrolls. Not many people knew the details of the place. Meanwhile, Ling Ling was like a library herself. She could easily find lots of information from her laptop. Ling Ling had the ambition of collecting the most complete information about demon beasts and forbidden lands, hence she would always record her new findings in her laptop. Even Ling Ling had never heard about the fire calamity of the North Burning Valley. Why would Chen Yi, who had suddenly decided to join the team, know about it in detail? Why are you looking at me like that? I've done some homework before coming here. Chen Yi was obviously not very good at scheming, as her tone weakened after realizing how they were looking at her. Someone from my family must have visited this place before, Zhao Manyan justified his cousin's explanation. You mentioned that more treasure will be produced after the place has received the baptism of the fire calamity. Is that true? Ling Ling asked sternly. Chen Yi nodded after a moment of hesitation. The fire calamity turns the North Burning Valley into a fertile land, and it goes without saying that once the outside world knows the North Burning Valley has just gone through a huge fire calamity, those who know the secret will come here to hunt for the treasure. Therefore, most people are unwilling to share the secret of the fire tribulation, said Chen Yi. The fire calamity indeed felt like the wrath of God toward mankind. Not only did the spectacular fire produced by nature have a strong scent of death, but its overwhelming energy was also pouring into this brazier-shaped land. Many unique plants, magic ores, soul seeds, and so forth were produced by nature after it had absorbed energy. Perhaps the fire calamity was seen as a terrifying disaster to creatures who were not purely fire elemental, but it was definitely irrigation to some of the unique existences. Magic resources were extremely valuable, so it was not exaggerating to describe the North Burning Valley after going through the fire calamity as a land full of gold. Chapter 478 Gold Everywhere. When the fire calamity took place, various factions began to take action. Mo Fan's party, who was currently at the Drifting Sand River, was totally unaware that a huge bunch of people was rushing their way to the North Burning Valley. It was none of the party's concern for the time being, as the demon beasts in the Drifting Sand River had suddenly become agitated. If they stayed any longer in the Drifting Sand River, even Xinxia's psychic element would be useless against the white sand demons. Damn, what is going on here? Cursed Zhao Manyan unpleasantly. First, they were almost devoured by the fire calamity at the North Burning Valley, and when they finally made it back to the Drifting Sand River, the demon beasts here were going out of control. Are we heading back or going to the North Burning Valley? We have to make a decision now, said Zhang Xiaohou. It's too late to turn back now. We should head to the Burning Valley as soon as possible, said Xinxia with a frown. The crowd felt their hearts going half cold when they heard Xinxia's words. The fire calamity had completely disrupted their initial plan. That place was a lot more dangerous than they had expected. In Mo Fan's opinion, it was not worth it to place everyone's life in danger when the existence of the Flame Bell was still an unknown for the time being. As such, even though Chen Yi had insisted on continuing on with the adventure, everyone else had lost the interest in searching for the Flame Bell. To their surprise, even the Drifting Sand River was rebelling, too, as Xinxia's psychic element seemed to be losing its effect. From their current location, the distance back to Dunhuang was at least 10 kilometers. The time left would not be enough for them to reach safety, and they would most likely be trapped in the middle of the Drifting Sand River. They might be able to deal with the white sand giants in a small area, but heaven knew how many white sand giants would appear in the center of the Drifting Sand River. Once the psychic element lost its effect, the white sand giants could easily wear the party down with their numbers. It's not possible to go back now. Our only option is the North Burning Valley. Let's hope the fire calamity won't happen again, said Mo Fan as he quickly made the call. Don't worry, the fire calamity has never happened twice in a year, and I think it will be even longer this time, said Chen Yi confidently. We'll talk later. Let's leave this horrifying Drifting Sand River, said Ling Ling. The party quickly proceeded forward. Xinxia was currently sitting on the Swift Star Wolf's back with her eyes closed, fully focused on clearing the path for the party. The frown on her face clearly implied the resistance she was receiving from the restless white sand giants as she tried to pacify them. Luckily, the group had not gone too deep into the Drifting Sand River. The barren land of the North Burning Valley soon appeared in front of them. When they arrived at the shore, they could see a pile of corpses stacked up into a pile in a shocking manner. Mo Fan clearly remembered that the warrior-level killing armor beasts were roaming around this area before they escaped into the Drifting Sand River. It was obvious that the creatures were devoured by the fire while they were hesitating. They were turned into skeletons without any sign of struggling before they could jump into the Drifting Sand River. I have to say that I'm done with this place. If I knew it was so scary, I wouldn't agree to come even if I was beaten to death, said Zhao Manyan, who felt a chill going down his spine. The killing armor beasts were as strong as an army troop, yet they were burned instantly into a pile of bones, clearly highlighting how scary the fire calamity was. Stop bitching like a little girl there, we're already here, might as well listen to Chen Yi and try searching for the good stuff. Otherwise, how could we possibly profit from all the risk we took just to get here? Mo Fan mocked him. Let's follow the initial plan by finding the fire element soul seeds nearby. However, if what Chen Yi mentioned was true, there will be many fresh resources after the fire calamity, thus the number of soul seeds will increase, which makes it harder to locate the flame bell, said Ling Ling. I don't think that's bad news for us, said Xinxia, who was aware of how nervous everyone was. Xinxia's words served as a reminder to everyone. That's right. Why did they have to look for the flame bell? If they managed to find a few soul seeds, or some fire element resources which were even rarer, it would still be a win for them. It was rare to find such a good opportunity. The North Burning Valley had just undergone a fire calamity. As such, they would be the only ones here in the greatest brazier of China. Didn't that mean they were pioneers, exploring the fertile land? As they pictured a land full of gold, the fear they had toward the fire calamity immediately shrank by half. Forget about the plan, let's go. Zhao Manyan might be afraid of death, but he adored money as much as he favored his life. It was probably a trait for everyone in the Zhao family, and the reason why the family was extremely wealthy. As they ventured deeper into the North Burning Valley with some anticipation, they could feel that the place was incredibly still, as they were unable to see any demon beasts roaming within their range of vision. After traveling for 2 kilometers, Mo Fan had already found some soul seed pieces, almost exposed on the surface of the ground. There were 3 soul seed pieces. Mo Fan clearly remembered that each such piece had a price of 300,000 to 800,000 on the market. The soul seed pieces he had found were rather high quality. He could easily sell them for 500,000 each. The place was indeed full of gold if he were able to pick up soul seed pieces from the ground. Oh, it should be full of diamonds. Let's gather as many resources as we can. We'll split the profit evenly among us later, said Mo Fan. Soul seed pieces aren't bad, but I think there is more valuable stuff around here. Let's make use of the fact that we're the first group here to find all the valuable resources. We shouldn't be wasting too much time on little things like this, said Ling Ling. Zhao Manyan was startled. They had fought and challenged one another at school just to climb higher in the ranking for some soul seed pieces, yet the same soul seed pieces were somehow the least valuable at this place. As the thought of finding many soul seeds, or the things that were more valuable than soul seeds crossed Zhao Manyan's mind, he immediately became energetic, a completely different person from the one who had insisted on going back after seeing the fire calamity. He was now walking in front of the party with gleaming eyes. Place the element sensors here, there shouldn't be any demon beasts nearby. We're safe to use them here to analyze to a great distance, said Ling Ling. The others knew it was only a matter of time until they found some soul seeds. They quickly buried the element sensors into the ground at the most efficient pace they possibly could. A soul seed was priced around 15 to 30 million. The price for fire element ones averaged more than 20 million. If they could find a few of them, everyone would be rich. Chapter 479 Soul Seeds, a small entree. The number of demon beasts in the North Burning Valley had significantly decreased due to the fire calamity. Even after the element sensors were buried under the ground for 2 hours, there was no sign of demon beasts being attracted to them. It was most likely that the demon beasts had yet to recover from their fear of the fire calamity. The demon beasts were all hiding in their lairs, not daring to come out of safety. The longer the devices were placed in the ground, the further they were able to scan, which would greatly reduce the time needed to search for the soul seeds. The 4 element sensors were positioned in 4 different directions. The party easily determined the right direction, and as they proceeded further, they could feel the ground turning hotter. It was a sign that they were approaching a soul seed. This is it. Zhang Xiaohou, Chen Yi, use your earth element to quickly locate the soul seed around here, Mo Fan told the 2 excitedly. Zhang Xiaohou was fairly naive. He would do anything that Mo Fan told him. If he had a hoe, he would start digging promptly. Chen Yi was rather calm. Perhaps she knew that the soul seeds were not valuable compared to the other stuff that was produced in the Burning Valley after the fire calamity. Zhang Xiaohou was fully prepared. He could not wait to dig into the ground when they arrived at the place. However, Chen Yi tapped on his shoulder softly, signaling the man who had totally lost his ability to think after seeing some gold nearby to take a look ahead. A moment ago, the place ahead was shrouded by a cloud of sand, which greatly reduced the visibility. As the cloud of sand cleared slowly, it revealed a huge pit, like that produced by a meteorite, in front. The diameter of the pit was around 1 kilometer. It was shaped like a tiny basin, but shockingly huge. Its inside was extremely dry, and its surface was cracking open, with flames flickering out of the little gaps. The inner part of the flame was yellow in color, looking like stalks of wheat swaying in the wind. There must be a soul seed nearby, as only a soul seed was able to change the color of fire. Zhang Xiaohou glanced ahead before rubbing his eyes in disbelief. He discovered a yellow fire element soul seed floating at the center of the pit, around 2 meters above the ground. Although Zhang Xiaohou had not found many soul seeds before, the others in the army had always mentioned how difficult it was to locate a soul seed. He had never heard of a soul seed that was right before someone's eyes. Isn't this a bit too easy? Zhang Xiaohou could not believe it. Mo Fan stood at the edge of the kilometer-wide pit. It was obvious that the fire element soul seed was freshly produced. Most likely, a huge amount of the fire calamity's force had accumulated in this area. The ground was unable to withstand the force, so the ground around it began to collapse and sink. Furthermore, it had filled the place with fire essence. It was Mo Fan's first time seeing a yellow flame. He could not tell what kind of special effect it had. Normally, every soul seed would have some kind of special effect. The rose flame which Mo Fan had increased the damage of his fire spells by 250%. Different soul seeds had different effects. Some with an outstanding effect could be sold at a higher price. For example, the flowing mud which Zhang Xiaohou acquired was very high quality among the earth element soul seeds. It could be sold for a price of around 30 million RMB. Each soul seed had a certain level of intelligence. The yellow soul seed seemed fairly magical, thus they should be able to sell it for a fairly high price. The whole place is covered in those underground flames that could easily burn a human into ashes. They will burn anyone who tries to make it to the center to death, said Xinxia. Zhao Manyan and Zhang Xiaohou turned toward the restless Mo Fan simultaneously. He was the only fire magician here, which meant he would have a certain degree of fire resistance. Mo Fan did not waste time discussing with the others. He jumped into the pit full of the yellow flames. It was unbelievable to see a soul seed simply exposed in the air, and more shockingly, there were no creatures guarding the soul seed nearby. Creatures like the demon beasts were unable to refine soul seeds like humans to gain their power. They had to consume the energy of the soul seeds, and they could only refine them after their bodies fully adapted to their power, turning them into their own power. It was quite a lengthy process, thus whenever a soul seed appeared, if a demon beast happened to find it first, it would guard the soul seed. Mo Fan went deeper into the small basin and quickly arrived at the center. Less than a few dozen meters away from the yellow soul seed, he came to a stop and cautiously checked his surroundings. When nature was kind enough to put such a precious soul seed right in front of Mo Fan, it felt like a goddess whom he was fond of suddenly took off her clothes and used her hands to comb her hair. He felt extremely tempted, yet at the same time was worried that when he lunged forward, he would wake up from the wet dream. Therefore, even when he was about to pounce at the soul seed like a starving wolf, he subconsciously hesitated at the very last second. He could not find anything in the surroundings apart from the stronger flames. The fire resistance from his rose flame was enough to make him immune to the flames. Finally, he continued walking forward and immediately felt an extreme heat blowing into his face. Mo Fan instantly felt it struggle to protect its virginity. The only problem was, its chastity was meaningless, as it stood no chance against Mo Fan's evil claw. Mo Fan carefully placed the soul seed into the container. Apart from feeling somewhat uncomfortable due to the heat from the yellow flames in the surroundings, the process was rather smooth. He was still imagining that once he tried to retrieve the soul seed, a monster with 3 heads and 6 arms would burst out from the ground and chase after him relentlessly. The truth was, nothing happened. It was quite the opposite, as the yellow flames around him were slowly extinguished after the soul seed was stashed inside the container. I now believe that the fire calamity is indeed like holding a grand feast in this burning valley. Zhao Manyan exclaimed when he saw Mo Fan acquiring the soul seed with such ease. If such an outstanding soul seed could be found so easily, It was obvious that a soul seed was only a small entree in this feast. God knew what kind of treasure they would find as they ventured deeper into the place. Chapter 480 Chen Yi's Secret. This soul seed must be the Alaman fire, a high-quality fire commonly used to forge equipment. I think the forgemasters would be willing to buy it for a good price. Ling Ling identified it with a smile. To be honest, I still can't believe it. It's a soul seed, one that is supposed to be priceless, said Zhang Xiaohou, his face rather blank. Mo Fan glanced at the yellow soul seed inside the container. He clearly remembered the situation of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, when he was competing for the rose flame. He was so close to dying to the maniac killer, hence he was left speechless by how easy it was to acquire the Alaman fire. I think we shouldn't just focus on soul seeds. You might assume that the Burning Valley is famous for its fire, but there are lots of rare natural resources that will only blossom at a certain temperature. Therefore, the fire calamity was irrigation for them. Chen Yi was clearly not interested in the Alaman fire and seemed to be in a rush to look for something else. Mo Fan glanced at Chen Yi. He had a strong feeling that the girl was not as simple-minded as she seemed when she first joined the team. Chen Yi, we're all in the same team, going through fire and water together. Why don't you tell us everything you know, said Xinxia. What could I possibly know? I just think that we should aim higher, something like that. Chen Yi was obviously not an expert at lying. She immediately panicked when someone questioned her. Her reaction had no doubt made everyone feel suspicious, especially Zhao Manyan, who had only brought her along because she was family and he had complete trust in her. Zhao Manyan looked at Chen Yi and agreed that she should not be hiding something from the party. He said to her sternly, I already told you before we came here, you can trust these people. We can tell that you know more about the Burning Valley even though we had long prepared for this, and it feels like you're trying to lead us to search for something else. No, I didn't. Chen Yi's voice was soft as a mosquito's when everyone looked at her. Chen Yi was not very pretty, but her confidence did add some charm to her. She was also not bossy like those from renowned families, so everyone had a fairly good first impression of her. However, her behavior now forced the others to feel suspicious toward her. She was clearly hiding something and was trying to guide the team indirectly, yet she had made it so obvious. Xinxia exchanged glances with Mo Fan when Chen Yi was unwilling to spill the beans. She's feeling very uneasy. She's definitely hiding something. Xinxia's voice suddenly echoed in Mo Fan's ears, sounding rather hollow. Mo Fan stared at Xinxia in great shock. She was not speaking. Why was he able to hear her voice? As I've awakened the psychic element, if I gather my focus to listen, I can feel a person's emotions and roughly hear their thoughts. I can sense that Chen Yi is extremely anxious. She wants us to move on as quick as possible, as if there's something she really needs ahead. Xinxia's voice appeared in Mo Fan's mind once again. Alright, being able to read someone's mind, isn't this psychic element a bit too? Didn't that mean if he were imagining something lewd, Xinxia would be able to read his mind too? The truth was, Mo Fan had already planned to set up his own tent at night and lure Xinxia to do something off the scale. He felt thrilled and excited when he was secretly touching her last time. Can you hear what her secret is? Mo Fan walked up to Xinxia and whispered into her ear. Xinxia shook her head and said, I can only feel her emotions and roughly read her mind. A person's brain is very chaotic when they are trying to figure something out. If I really want to know her thoughts, I'll have to cast mind control on her, and force her to focus on only one thing, so I could understand better. Otherwise, even a psychic's mind would be in disarray. I don't think that's a good idea for now. Chen Yi is still Zhao Manyan's cousin. Let's see if Zhao Manyan was able to convince her, said Mo Fan. As the two were discussing, Zhao Manyan had already dragged Chen Yi to the side. A while later, Chen Yi came back with her head lowered. She apologized to the party and told everyone what she knew about the North Burning Valley. The others quickly gathered their attention, since her information was related to things that were more valuable than soul seeds. Any magician would be intrigued by it. I have a family member whose whole body was seriously burned. Not only were her looks destroyed, but not a single part of her skin is in good condition. No matter how many healers we hired, none of them could restore her original appearance. Chen Yi said slowly, Are you talking about the uncle that doesn't have the same surname, Lu Jianli? Zhao Manyan quickly pictured the man who was always wrapped in white bandages in his mind. The guy lived not that far from his house. Sometimes, when he was meditating on the balcony, he would see the white mummy taking care of the plants in the backyard. Zhao Manyan was not very familiar with the guy, but he did hear the people in his clan uttering disdainful and sarcastic remarks at him, saying that he was punished by heaven and left in his current state because of his sinful misdeeds. Since a young age, Zhao Manyan had accepted their words. After all, the person did hire lots of healers to try and heal his wounds, and any normal burn could easily be healed by the healing magic, or some special medicine. She's my mother, said Chen Yi in an extremely soft voice. What? Zhao Manyan jumped into the air. The others were dumbfounded, too. Everyone knew that an uncle was supposed to be a man. How did he become one's mother out of nowhere? They suddenly felt extremely out of the loop. Have you seen her appearance before? Chen Yi asked him directly. Well, no, I only heard. Fine. I guess we've all been mistaken. Zhao Manyan had a wry smile when he realized something. As a matter of fact, Zhao Manyan had never thought the person who was always wrapped in white bandages was a woman. There were many sayings about her in the family, yet to Zhao Manyan's biggest surprise, she was Chen Yi's mother. His uncle, Zhao Yulin, had never mentioned anything about her. So if she's your mother, who's the person we call our aunt? Asked Zhao Manyan. You tell me. Chen Yi did not explain any further and bit her lips. It must be something unbearable. Zhao Manyan finally came to a realization and did not dare to ask any further.